Welcome to the Launch Button Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of successful entrepreneurs and real estate investors who found the courage to hit the launch button and take control of their destiny. Join me, Hugh Zaretsky, bestselling author, seasoned real estate investor, and serial entrepreneur, as we dive deep into inspiring stories and invaluable lessons that will empower you to break free from the ordinary and pursue your true passions. Are you feeling trapped in a job that drains your passion and leaves you yearning for more? Are you ready to accelerate your business and our real estate investing to take it to the next level? It's time to ignite your dreams and embrace the limitless possibilities that life has to offer. Get ready to launch into the life you've always desired by pressing the launch button. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Launch Button Podcast. And we've got one of the most amazing people here with us today. She has done lots of things in all different industries. She's coached all different people. She's helped people in all different industries, going way back, started as a CPA, and now she's one of the best speakers in the world on international platforms for both business, professional, charity, and she's an amazing grandmother to her kids and keeps everybody rocking and rolling through life. And she keeps you accountable, which is what we love here about the CDAs and saying with the consistent daily action. So I want to introduce you guys to a dear friend that's becoming a dear friend of mine. We met through Dr. Greg Kimball, and we've got a chance to meet. Actually, we met way back with Bob Snyder first, and then Dr. Greg Kimball, and we've been able to build that relationship over the last year. And I want to introduce you to Miss Sharon Lechter, the one and only professional speaker, coach, entrepreneur, CPA. And Sharon, it's a pleasure having you here today. We just want to thank you for your time, your energy, and your grace of always showing up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't think I should say anything. You've just such a great job. Let's leave it there.
Well, let's take everybody through your journey a little bit, and then I want to talk about your books and how you've got your message out there. But, growing up, with your dad, and I know there's a great story there, but you chose to become a CPA. At that time was an extremely male-dominated profession. And for all the women entrepreneurs out there, and I know they're big fans of yours, my team loves you. Ever since they got a chance to meet you, they know what to do with their hands now, speaking on stages and everything like that. But tell everybody how you got started and how you started to make that transition from CPA into entrepreneur.
Well, thank you. I guess I grew up in a home where my parents just said, if you want to do something, you can do it. You just need, sometimes you have to work a little harder than everybody else. And so I was the only woman in my business classes, certainly the only woman in my accounting classes. I'm one of the very first women in public accounting. And I took it as a challenge. I said, and I knew when I started, I was going to have to work harder than the men who started with me because I had an extra set of criteria. I had to prove that I could do the job as a woman. And, this was definitely before the term sexual discrimination, all that stuff. I was definitely a trailblazer, but I never looked at it as anything other than I can do it. And so that gift of drive and persistence is what I got from my upbringing. And I loved being a CPA. My parents were entrepreneurs. I grew up in an entrepreneurial environment and didn't want to be an entrepreneur because I saw how crazy things were. And we talked about it at dinner. And then when I got out onto the real world as this professional, which was my goal, right, to be a CPA, become a partner in the firm, retire, the whole thing. And at the ripe old age of 25, I realized that probably wasn't the dream I really wanted because it was working incredibly long hours. I was not in control of my own life. And my parents started looking a whole lot smarter. And so at 25, I was invited to lead public accounting with a client and help bring a company out of bankruptcy. And it was an opportunity for me to own a piece of the rock. And so I made the decision after thinking about it, because I did the old pros and cons, because this is before cell phones and PCs. And it didn't help me a bit because I could argue both ways. I was very successful in my career, but I also knew I had this drive to take that path less traveled. And so my hand kind of took off across the top of the page and wrote, why not? Why not take the road less traveled? Why not do something different? Why not solve a problem or serve a need? And so that mantra at the age of 25 is still my mantra today. Why not do something to help other people? Why not step outside your comfort zone? why not take the path less traveled?
That's the opposite of most people, because most people go, whoa, that sounds those things. And you're like, why not take the risk now? Right.
And they want to be safe.
Yes.
We inherently want to be comfortable. And I can tell you that people that have had the greatest successes in the world don't want to be comfortable. They're constantly looking for a new challenge, a new problem to solve. And so that's creativity, that curiosity is what keeps you young, keeps you going.
That's a great tip for everybody out there, right? Keep taking the risk and keep taking the actions to get you there. And you definitely did that growing up with entrepreneurs as parents and then seeing that path. What do you think, if you didn't have entrepreneurs as parents, do you think you would have been willing to take that risk at a young age?
Well, Hugh, that's a great question. However, when I get asked questions like that, I say, I don't believe in looking back. I was given the gifts of the parents I had, and I don't even want to imagine not having them in my life. And I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't had all those experiences, both positive and negative. My decision to leave public accounting, that was the worst business decision I ever made. I tell those people the story because Napoleon Hill said, out of every adversity comes a seed of an equal or greater benefit. And I not made that decision, which was a horrible business mistake because within a few weeks, I found all kinds of corruption. But I had not made that decision, I wouldn't have met Mike Lechter. And we've just celebrated 44 years of marriage. So the worst business decision gave me my best life decision. So I don't like to look back. People always ask me, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? And I go, well, again, same answer. I don't want to look back. If I had to say something to my 16, I'd keep going. You can do it. That's it.
Okay.
Going.
That's awesome. And out of adversity, often we find that next step, that next opportunity. And you found your husband, right? So your worst business decision led you to your husband. That led you down a path. And I know you have you talk about lots of isms, right? And why not is one of your isms. What are some of your other isms that people know you by that you like to share with people?
Sure. Well, let's see. You are the CEO of your life. It is not what you do for your paycheck. It is what you do with your paycheck that determines your financial future. Assets are sexy. That's a big one. Assets are sexy, enough for me to repeat it. You're the CEO of your life. Let's see. I have tons of them. If it is to be, it's up to me. I always say that. And then when was the last time you did something for the first time? When was the last time you did something for the first time?
And I know you believe that one wholeheartedly because when we were at your ranch, that was what you were driving into us, right? It was like, when was the last time you did something? When was the last time you disconnected? When was the last time you were on a ranch, right? Especially for us city folk, right? Coming there and being able to do that. And you were definitely driving that home. So you made that bad business decision. You went off, you met Michael Lechter, which is awesome. And then how did you started working with Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad organization there for a bit, and that became challenging as well, right?
Well, my first big global success was talking children's books that have sound strips down the side. And I met the inventor we were both on the American Cancer Society board. And he had invented that, and I helped him grow that around the world. And we were a brand new company. Back then in 1987, it's hard to imagine a time the kids had no electronics. And so he said, how can we get parents to trust us? So we did deals with little companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Sesame Street, and Marvel Comics. And we were able to explode that brand around the world. And I learned so much about licensing, about power of association, publishing, printing, international distribution. It was an incredible learning experience. And we sold that company in 91, which is the year we moved here to Arizona. And in 92, our oldest son went off to college and got into credit card debt. That was December of 1992. He came home. We didn't even know he had a credit card, but that was really when I dedicated the rest of my career to financial education. Fast forward a few years, I was working with school systems, trying to get financial education in the school system. And that's when Robert Kiyosaki had gone to see my husband about patenting his idea for a board game. So I met him at the very first beta test for the cash flow board game. And I believed in the philosophy that it was teaching, create income producing assets. That is the pathway to financial freedom. One of my other isms when the income from your assets exceeds your monthly expenses, you are financially free. And so focusing on the creation of income producing assets is the pathway to true success and true wealth. And so I believed in what the philosophy of the game. So I volunteered just as a friend to help him commercialize it because I had all the connections. I knew how to do it all. And in that process, he told me he wanted to charge $200 for the board game. I said, that's pretty pricey. Maybe we should write a brochure that explains your philosophy so people can read that, to encourage them to invest that kind of money in a board game. And that's when he asked me to be his partner. And together we wrote that brochure. And that brochure was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I said, you have a copy right there. That's the original Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, and I didn't even know I got it. And this is the one you signed for me. So
Yep.
it's priceless.
Yep. And it was amazing to me. We never expected it to take on a life of its own. And of course it did. 7 years on the New York Times bestseller list, 35 million of them sold around the world in 110 countries and 51 languages. And so all of a sudden we became authors. And so we said, well, we'll do a trilogy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. Oh no, people wanted more. So the 10 years we were equal partners and I was CEO of the company. We wrote 15 books together. And then I also launched another series called Rich Dad Advisors by experts in their fields to give us further in-depth content for our students and our clients. And so it was quite a ride. We built the largest personal finance brand in the world. And in 10 years, we truly elevated the financial well-being of humanity. And I thought that was my legacy. I thought Rich Dad was my legacy. But in 2007, somebody upstairs decided I needed to do something different. And I made the decision. Didn't agree with the decision he wanted to make for the direction of the company. And so I made the decision to leave. And I tell people sometimes you have to close one door for other doors to open. It was amicable until the valuation of the company came in, and then it wasn't. But I didn't know what was the future held for me. And then I got a call from President Bush asking me to be on the first Presidential Advisory Council for Financial Literacy. I served both President Bush and President Obama. I would not have had that call had I still been at Rich Dad. In March of 2008, I got the phone call from the Napoleon Hill Foundation asking me to step in and reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill, given what was happening to the economy in 2008. And so I certainly wouldn't have had that phone call had I still been at Rich Dad. So I tell people all the time, is there a door in your life that you need to close so other doors will open? That's another ism. Is there a door in your life that you need to close so that other doors of opportunity will open? Because that's exactly what happened for me. I thought Rich Dad was my legacy. Somebody upstairs said, no, Sharon, that was just a stepping stone. You have more to do.
Yeah, and that's just part of it. And I truly want to thank you for that because we've used that cash flow for kids to change so many lives and give them the opportunity to change, as you like to say. Like we play the game, we show them, and then it's up to them to take the action. Because I know that's one of your things. You're like, I didn't change your life. I was a certain
inspired. Yeah, people
inspired
always say,
you.
Changed my life. Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life. I said, you know how many people read it and do nothing? I want you to own your power. If you read it, you were inspired. I'm so grateful and so honored. But you took the action. So say, yeah. I changed my life as a result of reading something you wrote.
Yeah, and it's inspired, I know it's inspired thousands of millions of people, and I get to see the benefit of that because we use that as a learning tool in a lot of the things that we do to lay a good foundation. Like you said, assets are sexy. And, that's what we talked about. Hey, once your cash flow exceeds your expenses, technically you're financially free. You can do whatever you want, right? You don't have to make millions and millions of dollars to be financially free.
Right. It does not have to be millions of dollars. That's an important part.
Yeah. Awesome. And now tell us, you started working with Napoleon Hill Foundation, and I know you wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women and Outwitting the Devil. So tell us a little bit about that experience to bring back that brand.
Sure. Well, the first book I wrote, which came out in October of 2008, was 3 Feet from Gold. And in it, we created the personal success equation. So I give a gift to all your listeners. If you go to personalsuccessequation.com, I have a workbook that helps people identify what they may need to do to get themselves to the next level of success. Because the formula is your P plus T, your passion plus your talent. For me, my passion actually was anger, that we weren't teaching kids about money in school. My Talent was a CPA for many years, my years in publishing, and most of us stop there because we think we have to do everything on our own. But true success comes from that P plus T times A, the power of association, as I shared, working with Disney, working with Sesame Street. When we got to Rich Dad, working with Warner Books, with Time Life, with 50 publishers around the world. That gives you the ability to to exponentially increase your impact and your reach. And then times A, taking action. How many times do we know what we're supposed to do? We just don't do it. So you got to take the action. So passion plus talent times association times action, but all of it wrapped with a plus F, faith. Faith in yourself, faith in what you're doing, faith that is needed and necessary, and faith that you will succeed. And many of us, that formula, when I start working with high-level mentoring clients, it's usually the power of association and the faith and confidence in themselves that need the most work. And they go hand in hand, because when you have the right people around you, the right mentor, the right people on your team who are strong where you are weak, and you have a bad day, they're not going to let you stay there. And so examine your own level of success today. What new association do you need? Do you need a boost in your confidence? Find that mentor that can help you. Reach out to me at SharonLechter.com. Love to support you.
Yeah, and that's how we met, right? Was the power of association. Like I said, we met a long time ago with Bob, and then in the last year we got reconnected through Greg, and we ended up at one event, and then we connected at that first event, and then we got to go to your ranch. I get to hang out with Rex and the dog and your whole team at Cherry Creek Lodge there, and they're awesome. So if you guys ever get a chance to go to Sharon's ranch and Michael's ranch at the Cherry Creek Lodge, definitely go check that out outside of Arizona.
CreekLodge.com. Yep, CherryCreekLodge.com.
Awesome. And going back to the school system, because my parents, I come with 3 generations of teachers, and my grandfather was a teacher. Both my parents are teachers. My sister's a teacher. Now she's in administration. I'm one of the few in my family that didn't go into it because I had some, there wasn't the financial opportunity there, and they don't really teach people about credit cards, about how to use money in school or anything like that. And I know that's a big passion of yours. So how can we help you get that passion out there with all the listeners here?
Well, when I started this drive back in 92, there were only 4 states in the country that required financial literacy, a semester of personal finance for high school graduation. We're up to 26 states. Not all of them are implemented yet, but it's just a travesty. It's criminal that we are not providing financial education to our high school students, because that's what they really need. We work with high school students all the time and play our game, Thrive Time for Teens. You can find it on my website, but it really shows them real life experiences, the decisions they make related to money and how they spend their time drive them to success or not. And it's a lot of humor in it. It relates to them where they are in life, the types of activities, the types of businesses they can start, understanding that they are the CEO of their life. They are in charge. It's the decisions they make that determine the direction their life will go in. And they constantly are saying, why aren't they teaching me this in school? This is going to give me the tools to succeed in life. And many of them will say, well, my parents need to play this game. It's really kind of cute. But that is, Hugh, when all 50 states require a semester, I will retire. But until then, we got to keep doing it. So check to see if your state has it, and then reach out to your senator, your representative, and start demanding it, because it has to come from a grassroots effort.
Okay, awesome. And I know you're just a spring chicken, so we got plenty of time for you to continue to grow and get them out to the world. What do you call it, Sharon 6.0 or 7.0?
7.0, yeah.
Sharon 7.
I turned 70 in January, and I was pretty depressed about it. And I had to kind of look at myself in the mirror and go, Sharon, you teach mindset, so you better figure out what to do. And a friend of mine said, Sharon, you're not turning 70, you're Sharon 7.0. I like that. So I've adopted that and shared it around the world. Now, a lot of people are telling me, I'm 6.8, I'm 7.2. I love it. So it's cute.
Yeah, that's awesome. With that, and so definitely reach out to your senators, reach out to people. Let's get these changes, because it is something that's truly needed. Like, people don't understand how to use credit cards. Like you said, your son got started, and I know it's been a big passion of yours ever since then. to go ahead and do that. And then even at the end of people's lives, because you've got also Outwitting the Devil, right? That's one of your books with the Napoleon Hill. And then you came out with the Exit Rich book, right? So as people are maturing in life, I like to call them more seasoned, right? As they become more seasoned investors and more seasoned, what are some of the tips for them to exit rich?
Well, absolutely. Exit Rich talks about how not to just build a successful business, but to have a successful business that's sustainable, scalable, and saleable, whether you choose to sell it or not. If you decide to give it to your kids, make sure it's a sturdy business that can operate appropriately. And so Exit Rich was a combined with Michelle Sawyer Tucker. She's one of the top female brokers and mergers and acquisition specialists in the country, and Inc. magazine. It was really an effort to take all of the teachings. Mike and I, we have high-level mentoring. We have an online program called The Essential Components of a Successful Business. You can find at my website. They're like semester-long courses. Well, we took that and synthesized that down into a book that's very affordable. If you order it from my website, I'll autograph it for you at SharonLechter.com. But Exit Rich talks about the 6 Ps of building a strong business, the foundation. And so it talks about the people in your business. Who do you have in your business? Do you have the right people? Do you have the right people in the right seats? And then your products, some products, right? Most people just focus on that. And then the third one is processes, your business systems. That's intellectual property. That's how you scale. You have to have systems that allow your business to run when you're not there. And then proprietary, that is your intellectual property. What makes you uniquely you? What is your competitive advantage? Have you protected it? Let's identify your intellectual property, protect it, and then leverage it so that you can scale. And then we have patrons, your database. So many people today, in particularly, talk about how many followers they have on social media, like they own those names. They don't. And people have found Facebook can cut you off. So yes, you want to have social media, you want to have that as a lead generation, but then you want to invite them home to your database, get them into your database, nurture them. And that increases the value of your company significantly. And the last P is profits. Now, most people focus on products and profits, but unless you focus on all 6, you're not going to have a stable company that can scale, that can be saleable.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's 6 Ps. And I see it all the time at networking events. I see everybody leading with their services or their product, yet not getting to know the person, right? And so what would you say to people that show up at networking events that lead with their products and services versus leading with getting to know the people? Because I see that as one of the major mistakes I see at networking events.
Well, and networking events, people do more talking than listening, and that's a problem. When you're networking, the best thing, the most powerful tool you can have is the power of the question. Start asking other people what their needs are, what they're looking for. And, in that conversation, you'll have time to say the kind of problems, but always focus on the problem that you solve, the need that you serve, and identify with somebody first what their needs and problems are. And then you can share how you can solve them. But listen first before you start chattering about what you do.
Awesome. So how can we help you? Right? We've got the audience, we've got people behind us, and they want to support Sharon. How can we help you get your message to the world? What can we do to support you and help you solve a problem?
Well, I appreciate that very much. Well, when I get mad about something, I start another company. So when COVID started, I launched something called ATM, which is a daily abundance tips, motivational mentorship tips. It's a play off the bank ATM. But it's something that I've just enjoyed doing. I'm approaching 2,000 messages now. And it's something that really, there's just so much negativity in the world that I wanted to let people start their day with a little bit of faith in themselves. And I tell people they're fabulous. Have them say it with me at the end of each one of my ATM messages. I am fabulous. And we've had such a great feedback from it. It's very inexpensive. It's like $8 a month, $88 per year. So if you go to atm.sharonlechter.com, I'd love for you guys to just check it out. There's no long-term contracts or anything, but it's just a matter of you to plug into a little motivation every single day to know that you are fantastic. I want to tell you how great you are every single day.
Awesome. but we appreciate how great you are and the knowledge that you've been sharing with people. We're going to pull you over to a little bit of a more advanced podcast here in a second for the Inside podcast. And we're just going to do a little segment over there. But, I'll just say I've got the great pleasure to know you, get to know you better over the last year. And I just amazed at what you've been able to do and to keep going and the persistency and consistent action you have. And I got to tell you guys a little story about Sharon, because the first time I met her, or the second time we met, was in Greg's basement, and you stayed there for the whole event, right? Which is unheard of. It's unheard of for the keynote speaker to be there for the whole event, taking notes, interacting with people. And, you gave me a compliment I'll never forget from stage, and you were like, and just you being there and your presence there the whole time, which is different than other keynote speakers. So if you want a keynote speaker, Sharon's there to not only just be there for her presentation, but she's there to meet your audience, be plugged in with everything, and really ingrain herself in the culture. What drives you to do that? Because most speakers, they'll fly in, they'll fly out. That was the first thing I said to Greg. I was like, she stayed here the whole time, right? She sat at the speaker table. We hung out the whole time. What?
Yeah, I kind of have that reputation, Hugh, and it's one of those things. My dad would ask me every night growing up, "Have you added value to someone's life today?" And he's been gone almost 20 years, but I still ask myself that every night. And if I'm going to be coming in to speak to somebody, and I want to know what other speakers are saying to them, because it will adjust what I share to make sure that I'm consistent or add additional value. If what I was planning to say somebody else says, I'm not going to repeat it. What else can I share to add value? And so it actually sometimes is a disservice, because people ask you to fly in and fly out. And because you make yourself scarce, there's this higher opinion of you. It's kind of a sad situation, actually, from my perspective. And I can't believe I'm sharing that. But anyway, I love people. I love supporting people. I love hearing what they're doing. And so when I'm speaking, I like to go in to hear what else is happening during the event so that I can add the greatest value possible. And there have times when I had to fly in and out because I had other engagements, and it just doesn't feel right to me, because I feel like I'm I'm not really invested in the audience, and I want to be invested in the audience.
Yeah. And yeah, unfortunately, it is true in this industry, right? Sometimes, they call it, you can't be a prophet in your own land. So if you fly in, fly out, all of a sudden people think it carries more weight than actually get to know the people, right? Which is, I think, a fallacy. We got to change, because it's about the relationships, right? If it wasn't about the relationship, you and I wouldn't be here today. If it wasn't for Greg's relationship with you, and then transcendent and all the different things like that, like, it's about building those relationships and not making it transactional.
That's right. Pouring yourself into the audience. And the more you can do that, the more impact you'll have.
Yeah. So we appreciate your time here today. Is there anything else, any last message, anything you want to share with the audience, or the entrepreneurs that are going out there that are feeling like they're hitting the glass ceiling? They're feeling like they're getting some pushback, like you've gone through, and you did this way before there was any talk of this or any support of this. You broke all the barriers down for everybody. So we got to thank you for all the female entrepreneurs out there. I know my team loves you. You've given them such great tips and help. What would you share for the female entrepreneurs that want to be speakers or launch their businesses?
Well, it's so important for you to stand in your own power. Women already control 60% of the personal wealth in the United States, and we're going to inherit trillions of dollars over the next 10, 15 years. So inherently comes a responsibility to understand how to receive that money, how to invest it, how to grow it for future generations. And so it's time for women to stand in their own power. My most recent book is How Money Works for Women, and it really does help women identify things that they need to deal with to protect themselves financially. The stat that I would share is 80% of men die married, 80% of women single. So you will be responsible for your own finances. Make sure you're doing it now so you don't have bad surprises later in life. And then if you're a female entrepreneur, don't try to do it on your own. Go download my personal success equation, personalsuccessequation.com, and get the tools on how to make sure that you are establishing and building a business and not just a job. Do you own a job, or do you own a business? And that business, too many of us try to do everything on our own. So seek counsel, seek a mentor, find the right people on your team, so that you can focus on what you're really good at and let other people do what you are not that great at.
Awesome. And right there, I think that's what it is. It's about surrounding yourself with the right team, the right people. Right, we're gonna have all Sharon's links down there so you guys can get her booked. Make sure you follow her on all of the different social media. Let's get her message.
That would be great. And don't forget, you are the CEO of your life and you are fabulous. Thank you, Hugh.
Awesome. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.